Well, I think that, obviously we ran on issues that are important to people, particularly jobs and the economy, getting Central New York moving again in terms of transportation and investments in education. But what really made the big difference, I think, was this incredible effort on the ground, just hundreds and hundreds of volunteers, grassroots support throughout the district, people who had never even met me, but realized that this was an important election and they wanted to work on it. And then, of course, a lot of people who did know me. So I'm very, very happy with that grassroots support. Well, clearly, some of the same things that I was running on were things that the president was running on in terms of creating jobs and particularly protecting the middle class, compared to Mitt Romney's campaign where, he seemed to be writing off the middle class. So I'm not so sure if I would take all that much comfort in saying, well, Maffei only won because President Obama was very popular in the district. Most of the things that they attacked me on were things that I was in agreement or supported President Obama. So, in that sense, I suppose they were related, but not. They were different. But I will tell you this: I think it made a huge difference how many people we had on the ground, which was more than we had 4 years ago in this district, and more than 2, and more than, frankly, I think it was a bigger effort in terms of get out the vote than I've ever seen in any campaign ever in upstate New York, and I think that's what made the biggest difference. Yes, I plan to have an office in Cayuga County. I've already talked to Congressman Hanna about the transition, since most of Cayuga County is currently in his district, including perhaps taking over the same office, but not necessarily. We'll see the exact location, what our options are. Certainly want to have dedicated staffing and stuff for every significant part of the district, and clearly Cayuga is there. And constituent service is going to be a major part of the effort, and planning to, having been in office before, try to make sure that I've even learned from that experience to really improve the constituent service over what anyone maybe has seen before. I'm really looking forward to that. It's one of the things I'm spending the most time on in this transition, is making sure we have the structure and the people right. Well, whatever committee I end up on, I want to make sure that there are essentially ways to really help the middle class. I didn't just talk about that during the campaign, I really meant it. It's so vitally important to Central New York in particular, to America generally, but Central New York in particular, that we help the middle class. So whether that's creating more opportunities for kids to go to college and not have to be paying off their loans the rest of their lives, or more of an ability to get in and out of the district, or help for small businesses, or even research help for our universities. Whatever committee I go on, I'll be looking for opportunities to do those sort of things.
Do you have any committees that are ideal to you, or?
Not really. I mean, all of them have pluses and minuses. I served on financial services and the committee on the judiciary before. Those I was able to do a lot in terms of housing, for instance, and some of the urban development stuff on financial services. But there are other committees that can offer an awful lot too, in terms of helping Central New York. So really, I'm looking at all of them. Well, I do. I mean, I think that, first of all, I'm going to reach out to a lot of the friends that I had when I was in office before, Republicans who were in the class of 2008. But then I'm also, like I said, I've had a good talk already with Richard Hanna. There are other Republicans, and don't forget, a lot of Republicans in local office that I've worked with before, that I'm looking forward to working with again. I think the key thing is just that, we try to set aside our biases and our partisanship and work together. And this crisis that we face, this fiscal crisis that we face, really necessitates that. So I'm hoping that now that the election's over, particularly a very contentious presidential election, that we now have a new spirit of bipartisanship. And I certainly can't do it alone, but I'm going to be a very constructive part of that, trying to work across party lines. I'm always hopeful. This is, of course, the last Congress, the Congress which has been criticized, and I think rightfully so, for being too hung up on particular ideologies and refusing to compromise. So, I wouldn't put money on it, but I certainly hope that they don't just kick the can down the road for the future Congresses. This is a big problem. It's going to take big solutions. It's going to take balanced solutions. You can't cut your way out of it. You can't tax your way out of it. But you can, working together, I think, come up with ways to deal with it. And we have to get started right now. There'll be plenty of work to do later on. So I'm hopeful. I'm not, like I said, I wouldn't put money on it, but I'm hopeful that they'll at least be able to make some progress before January. In terms of what I want to do in the first 100 days, I really would like to look at what can be done still in terms of improving the ability of middle-class families to pay for college and higher education. We have many colleges in this congressional district, 2 community colleges, 3 state universities, a Jesuit college, obviously a major university with Syracuse University, and Wells College. And I would really like to make sure that for both the students and their families and for the colleges that we work out some good ways of doing that. So I'll be looking towards the legislation that was passed actually in the Congress I was in, how that's being implemented, but also what more can be done. And I'd like to start some of the things I talked about in terms of transportation and looking at those programs. Want to set up a way that we can really help small businesses in our office. Some of these programs are going to already exist, but those are the kind of things I'm going to focus on the first 100 days. Yeah, well, mostly I'm going to listen to those constituents about what issues are a priority to them. And I think it's very important that we do that. But during the campaign, of course, I heard about a lot of things. One thing we have to get this farm bill passed. It's very important that we make sure that particularly our dairy farmers, but all of our farmers, have what they need in terms of insurance and crop support, etc. I am also very focused on the Harriet Tubman House. I think it's a huge opportunity to improve both the potential for tourism, but also our own history. And I've already talked to members of Congress who represent the other Tubman House about sort of working with them in Maryland, working with them to do stuff there. So there's a number of things. I'm certainly not waiting to start on some of those issues, but I really am going to want to listen to what the people of Cayuga County are saying that their top priorities are.